Welcome to this new episode of the Smart and Sustainable City podcast. In the European Commission, the Directorate General focused on information technology is called DIGIT. Today we talk with Joao RODRIGUES FRADE, Head of Sector for the Building Blocks in DIGIT. A building block is an open and reusable digital solution which can be used by a smart city or a smart government. It can take the shape of a framework, a standard, a software, or a software as a service, or any combination thereof. The building block offers a basic capability that can be reused in any European project to facilitate the delivery of digital public services across borders and sectors. Currently, there are 9 building blocks: big data, test infrastructure, context broker, e-archiving, e-delivery, e-ID, e-invoicing, e-signature, and e-translation, blockchain, and there's a 10th coming in 2023 called once-only principle. Smart cities such as Vienna, Austria, or Caragena in Spain, and smart governments such as Estonia or Italy use the DIGIT's building blocks. These building blocks are, of course, endorsed by the European Commission and are very helpful to enable a smart city to accelerate its digital services.
Thank you for inviting us to the podcast. We are quite happy to present what we are currently doing here in the European Commission. My name is Joao RODRIGUES FRADE. I'm the head of sector of the building blocks in the Directorate General for Informatics.
So you're from DIGIT?
Correct, that's it. And
okay.
The DIGIT is called DG for Informatics. We are helping the member states and cities in the digital enablement. So we are really working on the technical side, supporting the policy making. So we typically work together with DG Connect, but we also work with all the other DGs in real life IT systems and the digital enablement in general. So we do the technical part, and then the policy DG or Director General does the policy part.
And you're originally from Portugal?
Yes, I am from Portugal, Lisbon. I came to Belgium to work for the Taxation Director General, DG TaxUD, already back in 2002. One of the first trans-European systems that were built at that time for cross-border exchange of information. That was called Transit to support, as you know, all the goods going around Europe. Then I ended up by helping the expansion of the Union with the Schengen system, with the visa system, and I stayed in Belgium, well, until now.
So how do you compare Lisbon to Brussels? Are very different cities, both part of Europe, very important cities in Europe. How was it to move from Lisbon to Brussels?
Well, I think that gave me the experience of being so-called cross-border citizen. And I had studied previously also in the Netherlands. So I was confronted with many of the issues that we are trying to solve at EU level, which is really to help this mobility of citizens and businesses. And I've experienced firsthand all the hurdles that you need to go through when changing address, when trying to study abroad, when trying to do all those routine things that take a long time when you cannot do them online or when they require, for example, national identifiers and things that you don't have. Since that moment in time, I'm really invested in trying to improve mobility.
But things have improved, right, since you moved into Belgium?
Oh, definitely. I mean, things are better. However, when you look at what is currently happening with COVID, that is a significant push for cities, for regions and member states to offer their citizens online. There are still significant challenges. And this is exactly what we are trying to address in the Commission, is to help the cities, the regions and the member states to put together their digital infrastructure so that they can work together for the benefit of citizens, and not only their citizens, but all EU citizens, so the ones that also come from abroad. So I'm talking about enablers like identification, EID. We are trying to make my identity in Portugal work also in the public services in Belgium, because in the past, as you know, you would need to go through the process of getting Belgium ID card to access them. We are also trying to, for example, make electronic signature recognized across Europe so that the document that is signed in Portugal can also be verified and validated in Belgium. And all these elements, they are common to a member state, to a city, to a region. It doesn't really matter, because what you want is to access the public service online with, I would say, the least effort possible.
You're the head of sector of what's called the building blocks of the European Commissions. Tell us a little more about what these building blocks are.
So I will take a step back. The Commission, first and foremost, regulates, right? We are currently creating a common regulatory framework so that we can enable the digital economy and the digital society in general. Most people know about GDPR, about personal data protection. Some will know about Ides, which is about EID and trust services like electronic signatures or electronic post, electronic delivery. But the Commission does not stop there. What does this mean? It means that once you have the regulation that enables things to happen cross-border, as I explained, and that's the focus of the Commission, of course. We are trying to enable the connection cross-border between member states, cities, regions. We are also going then to help them in implementing this regulation in real life, meaning that we help them put together the digital infrastructure or the digital platform. And what does that mean? It means that most cities have similar needs. So if you look, when you are talking to the cities, they will have common problems, right? And what does this mean? It means that we can provide them with common solutions. So the Commission has also a role there in proposing, suggesting solutions that work, that are based on open standards, so that different market players can provide, for example, different cloud solutions or software solutions. What we try to do is to promote solutions based on open standards and technical specifications that we sometimes build also software around it, but we disseminate a lot of information about, and we have a lot of information going so that when the city gets this solution, right, they can implement much faster, for example, electronic identity or the mutual recognition of electronic identity. They can implement much faster e-signature, e-delivery, the context broker, and all these things that we call building blocks. So building blocks are common solutions to the recurrent problems of cities, member states, or regions, and that are required in any, let's say, digital infrastructure, any modern digital infrastructure that wants to connect with other cities, with other regions, and with other member states.
Give us some examples of those digital building blocks you're making available to cities. What concrete problems are they going to help solve for citizens?
We have a number of success stories online. So we have a website called CEF Digital that I invite everyone to have a look. But I can give you some examples. For example, one project that was implemented by the Netherlands that is called the Ides Municipalities project. They tried to make life easier to foreign students that want to come to study in the Netherlands. And actually, I tried to do that back in 2000, 2001. So I know how hard it was. And what they want to do is to enable the mutual recognition of identities, as I explained, so that I can use my Portuguese identity when I try to access public services in the Netherlands, because in the past, I could not. So this would be making the life easier to many foreign students that try to study in the Netherlands, for example. Another example, in Spain, Barcelona, this municipality wanted to understand the sources of air pollution to find and implement solutions to reduce it. So they used the context broker to aggregate a number of sources of information and get real actionable knowledge out of this. And they used this building block called the context broker. More recently, when we look at fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, we have the example of Valencia that has used our big data building block to identify patterns in the medical literature faster with machine learning and natural language processing. So they used big data to derive knowledge from a lot of information sources using our big data building block. Another example of the context broker with Italy that used it for real-time patient tracking and creating the maps of the pandemic in Italy. So as you can see, the use of these solutions is quite diverse. What we try to do is to collect all these experiences and then putting them online so that the cities can learn from each other and all of them can, in a way or the other, right, spend less money, be more effective, and build a sustainable and open platform that is trusted because, as I said, our solutions are aligned to the EU regulation, and these European values are very important to all of us. And I'm connecting here to the citizen. As you know, trust is a fundamental aspect of any public service. And one reason to use the building blocks is also this alignment with the policy and with European values.
Fascinating. Joao, the city's fabric is very much the citizens that live in them, and as well as the companies that operate in those cities. I see in the CEF building blocks that you have some digital services. What are those building blocks? E-invoicing, e-translation. How is that helping citizens and companies?
I will start with e-invoicing. You might know that there is a directive, European directive on e-invoicing, that states that if a company sends an electronic invoice, which is sent according to some standards, it cannot be rejected. But as you know, that means that many companies need to understand what the standard is, who can provide a solution compliant to it. Some of them are, of course, still fearful of moving to electronic invoicing, so they will prefer eventually to use paper. So our role here is to train and educate small and medium enterprises to help them benefit from the single market. Because once you do electronic invoicing and it cannot be rejected, you have, let's say, an opportunity to probably expand your market. This is specifically, of course, for the public sector, but the public sector is a large buyer of goods and services. So quite interesting, I think, for a lot of companies. Then on the translation, on one hand, we do legislation. If you want to read that legislation, typically you want to read it using your native language. And this is why the union always invested a lot in this specific problem of translating from any of the languages of the union to all others. And this is exactly what this building block helps companies and citizens. And it's open website that can be used by anyone to translate documents to any of the languages of the union.
I see some building blocks linked to identity, and this is quite fascinating. I recall having to, in my own country, go to many different public services and having to confirm my address, confirm who I am, and go through a lot of forms to fill in, which I had already provided to another entity. And I was thinking, well, why don't those different government entities talk to each other and save me some time? So I see you have a building block called the once only principle, which was brought by the EU as a policy. So how successful has been this building block, the once only principle?
I will need to probably try to separate the identity from the once only, but they are connected. The mutual recognition of EIDs, of electronic identities, meaning mutual recognition. We're not talking about harmonization. We are talking about mutual recognition. Means that there must be a regulation that allows that to happen. And that's Ides. That's the EID and Trusted Services Regulation. And member states are currently notifying their identities so that they can be mutually recognized by all other member states. And this is happening gradually. So not all of them have notified, and they can notify multiple identities. And this process is ongoing. Alongside, there is another regulation, and there are many regulations.
Sorry, before you move on to the other regulation, the e-identity, is this similar to the initiative that was started in Estonia, I think, for people to have to carry around their identity on a card, and that gets them basically access to not just government services, but also private companies recognize this e-identity in Estonia?
Yes and no. On one hand, we are promoting that member states at national level enable the use of EID, and we do that mostly with funding programs where we try to create incentives for the dissemination of electronic identification in as many services as possible. But that's really a decision of the member state. So that's subsidiarity. What we try to do with the EID building block is to ensure that if I travel around Europe, I do not need to request any other identity, and I can use my Portuguese identity to access the public services of that member state. Now, inside of the member state, they can decide which identity is used for what purposes, because as you know, regulations, they are looking at the cross-border aspect. They are not looking at what is going inside of the member state. So that's really subsidiarity. But of course, through the funding programs, we can create incentives for the dissemination of the use of identity in a similar way as some other member states have already done. So Estonia is a great example, but there are many others.
Okay. So I can take now the identity card from my country and be recognized by any public service of any country in the European Union. Is this true today?
Not yet. As I said, the notification process of identity is still ongoing. So the member states, they voluntarily notify their EID, right? And once this process of notification is concluded, then all the other member states have to allow this mutual authentication to happen. So when the member state notifies, then this list continues to expand, and the more services that are online become enabled with this new functionality. So you can then choose to, for example, use your own identity from your own member state without needing to request a new one. I have two of them, for example, in Belgium, but very soon I will be able to use my Portuguese identity or my Belgium identity because Belgium has already notified, and so did Portugal.
Okay, so by when will this whole process be concluded? By when will we have freedom to travel in all around Europe with our own identity card and benefit from the services from the public sector in every country?
There's no clear answer to that because the notification process goes alongside, of course, the enablement process of the services. The member states are, as you know, doing a lot of efforts to accelerate this process. We hope to see it as early as possible. Of course, it's really up to the member states and with the support of the European Commission to make this a reality. But in a few years' time, we will see very large coverage. Also because it connects then to your other question, which is the once-only principle. So the once-only principle comes from another regulation called the Single Digital Gateway, that wants that 21 administrative procedures that are part of this regulation become fully digital. And that if, let's say, when you go to a member state and you're asked to provide what is called evidence, you can think of it as documents, that the public administration of that member state no longer requires you to get those documents, but that you can tell the public administration, well, get those documents yourself from my member state. So that's the once-only principle, is that in the near future, and the near future is late 2023, so December, so 2024, the member states will suggest to the citizens for some few administrative procedures. We're talking about 21 of them, so we will start with this list of procedures. We'll ask the citizen whether the citizen wants the public administration to get those documents instead of asking the citizen to do it. And I think this is very good news, and this gives a push then, of course, for the implementation of digital identity, because you need, of course, digital identity to be in place.
The two are connected. That's a very good perspective. I think all our listeners will be really looking forward to that, particularly if you're having to deal with all those different public sector entities. This will be most welcome. But we're talking about public sector, but all those building blocks are there to serve of course, the operations of the public sector, but the citizens, right, that use that public sector and the companies. So they will be also increasingly recognized by companies and by citizens.
Correct. I mean, we are as I said, promoting the standards and technical specifications and doing a lot of training and dissemination work. What we expect is that private companies provide the software and the solutions that sign electronically, that send documents according to the e-delivery building block. So alongside the training and hand-holding that we do, we also help the businesses to adapt their solutions so that they support these open and EU-friendly building blocks, which are based on open standards and technical specifications, so that we have really open market for them. So we want, of course, as many vendors to provide solutions that comply with these open standards and technical specifications.
Joao, when was this initiative created and who came with this idea to have those building blocks and digital solutions available for cities around Europe?
The member states, most of the building blocks, the origins are what is called large-scale pilots. The member states work together and they understood at some point that they all had common needs and that they would require common solutions if they were to be connected with one another. We are seeing more and more that the sharing of information, and again, I'm linking to the unfortunate event of the pandemic, is very important. So if we want to share data across borders, we absolutely need to agree on these common elements of all digital infrastructures across Europe, and they relate to every sector. So we are talking about health, justice, procurement, all of them have common needs, and therefore the member states come up with this, well, why don't we come up with building blocks that help us to solve these recurrent problems that we have. So in 2014, the Connecting Europe Facility program and also the Ides program, which is the interoperability program of the Commission, have really started to focus on this idea of a building block and the promotion of these open standards and technical specifications so that we can build a connected Europe that is fully digital and that allows mobility of citizens, businesses, of course, capital and goods for the benefit of everyone.
Joao, you mentioned some cities taking advantage of those building blocks. Do you see cities communicating between each other to leverage best practices?
Absolutely. As you know, the European Commission is working together with cities. One main initiative is the Living in EU initiative with the Living in EU declaration. We are part of that, working together with the Policy DG Connect. And that's really the idea, is that everyone learns from each other and that we also learn from the cities, because that's extremely important. This is not the Commission, providing the building blocks. This is a two-way communication. And we are all working together, and we will be working together, I think, even more in the future, because the way forward is digital. And therefore, we need to leverage what one city does somewhere else. And I believe that everyone today looks at cooperation as the way forward. For the listeners that are hearing us thinking about, well, where can I actually find information about the building blocks and about all these regulations? We have a website called CEF Digital. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I would invite everyone to go and have a look, because all the information is online. You can visit the success stories. If you are interested in any of the success stories that I just mentioned before, and in case you would like to contact us, you have also contact details per building block. We have an onboarding manager, so someone that can help you navigate through all the information. And we are definitely interested to continue this cooperation with the cities and the member states.
So that website is ec.europa.eu/CEF digital. And on that website, you can find all of those, 10 or 11 CEF building blocks?
Correct. It's already quite a number, and we will have the ID there, the delivery building block, e-signature, context broker, e-archiving, blockchain. So go and have a look. I mean, I'm sure that you will find something interesting for your city.
Excellent. And what's next then? Is it just to carry on with those building blocks and making them more adopted, or are there more building blocks coming down the road?
Well, the future will tell. We will have a new program, as you know. So the Connecting Europe Facility and the ISA program will move to the Digital Europe program, and we will definitely continue the work. And hopefully, as you say, together with the member states, decide on investing in new building blocks. That all depends on the needs and on the wants of the member states. Of course, the Commission is a facilitator of all this, and we will be working together with the member states, moving all this forward. And hopefully, when we will talk again, we will see many more interesting cases of deployment of the building blocks.
Joao, we saw the EU making some announcements of potentially big financial packages coming down the road to support a single digital market in Europe. Will some of that feed into the building blocks or cities leveraging the building blocks to advance?
I hope so. So the recovery and resilience plans, as you know, are being outlined by the member states. Digital is definitely one of the most important elements. The Commission is promoting what is called the twin transition. So the cities are doing the same. We are going digital, we are going green, and the building blocks can help in both. Because if you reduce the paperwork, you're also helping the green aspect of the transition. And the member states know about the building blocks, and they will be definitely including them, I believe, in the plans that they are currently outlining.
Joao RODRIGUES FRADE, lead architect of the CEF Architecture Office, head of sector digital of the building blocks at the European Commission in Digit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pierre, and talk to you next time then.
Thank you for listening to the Smart and Sustainable City podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're responsible for a smart city initiative, do reach out.